Brission, 94 Bowman Street, Phillipsburg. I'll have a copy for the clerk when I'm finished. At the May 7th Town Council meeting, Council President Fulper distributed a packet of emails related to Eric Einholz, a landlord in Phillipsburg who has bought abandoned properties over the last couple of years. Mr. Fulper alleged that the emails prove, quote, a plethora of ethical issues, morally corrupt issues. Mr. Fulper alleged that the emails provide proof that the mayor provided favors to Mr. Einholz and helped him to be able to buy properties at lower prices from banks by the mayor threatening the banks with fines and penalties. I attended that meeting. I listened carefully to Mr. Fulper's comments on a video of the meeting, and I read the emails distributed. I respectfully disagree with Mr. Fulper's interpretation of the emails. I don't think they prove what he is alleging. Let me make it clear that I did not talk to the mayor about the emails and what his intentions were. I'm merely comparing the comments Mr. Fulper made with the emails he distributed. From reading the emails and comparing them to Mr. Fulper's comments, I found that Mr. Fulper made assumptions and drew conclusions about the mayor's responses and his intentions that are not warranted by the actual content of the emails distributed. For example, Mr. Fulper commented on the mayor's email response to Mr. Einholz. Can we get you in under the wire? Mr. Fulper asked, if it's a legitimate transaction, why does anything have to be done under the wire? Mr. Einholz's previous email included a link to an article, New Residential Announces Purchases of Mortgage Servicing Rights from PHH. PHH held the mortgages for properties Mr. Einholz was trying to buy on short sale. Under the wire could refer to being able to complete the short sale before PHH sold its mortgage servicing rights to another company. It would be better to complete the sale with the company you've been dealing with than start with a new company. Another example, Mr. Fulper took issue with Mr. Einholz asking the mayor to call PHH about 2 properties he thought were overvalued. Mr. Einholz asked the mayor to contact PHH and tell them that if they do not accept the offers for short sales, they will need to register the vacant houses and start paying the Phillipsburg piper. Mr. Fulper interpreted this to mean that the mayor should threaten PHH with fines. But Mr. Fulper says levying fines has to be done through the courts, and that never happened. He states that therefore it is reasonable to assume that the mayor abused his authority and intervened on a financial deal to get the institution to accept less than they would have. But Mr. Einholz's words are, they will need to register the vacant houses and start paying the Phillipsburg piper. To me, that sounds more like Mr. Einholz is referring to the abandoned property ordinance, which requires the creditor of an abandoned house to register the property, that's the word Mr. Einholz used, and then begin to pay an annual fee to the town, not fines. In his email, Mr. Einholz points out to the mayor that if the bank closes out the short sales, these banks, and I think he means these houses, will likely sit vacant for another 2+ years while they foreclose. Wouldn't the mayor be justified in advocating for the completion of a short sale which could get renovations on an abandoned property started more quickly instead of allowing it to go into foreclosure, which would result in the property being vacant for another couple of years? There are other examples that I could give, but my time to comment is limited, so I'll leave it at those 2. At the May 7th meeting, Councilman Davis abstained from voting on whether to submit the emails to the FBI because he had not had the opportunity to review the emails which he received at the start of the council meeting. I assume the other council members received them at the same time. If the council voted to forward these documents to the FBI based on Council President Fulper's presentation, I urge the council to reconsider its decision. Read the emails first with an open mind and no assumptions that they show the mayor acted in a corrupt manner. The emails do not support the allegations being made. Thank you.
Mr. Brisson, thank you for your comment. I will say this. Everything you have just said I completely disagree with wholeheartedly, adamantly, and the FBI was in receipt of the complaint as of Thursday last week. If Mr. Einholz was engaging in a business transaction that was legitimate, he would not make comments that state, please don't mention who I am. They don't even know they don't even know who I am. You can sit here and say that you thought of this with an open mind, but I don't believe you.
Why?
Well, to be quite honest with you, your relationship with the mayor is extremely friendly, and I believe that your political views are what is polluting your view of what really happened here.
I think that just gives an indication of the bias that you have.
Oh no, I don't have this bias.
Because
I appreciate it. This isn't a back and forth though.
Yeah, that's hard to believe.
Well, as hard as it is to believe that you and whoever, the mystery man, thinks that there's nothing wrong here. There is absolutely something wrong here.
The mystery man?
Yeah.
Who's the mystery man?
Sir, I don't know, but even you're on emails thanking you for coming and sticking up for Steve Ellis.
But, you know, what I said, I stand by. I looked at the emails. They don't prove the things that you are saying.
They wouldn't in your view, because your view's been skewed since I've taken office. Your view...
That's very inappropriate.
It's not inappropriate. It's not
for you to...
No, it's not inappropriate. It's not inappropriate. Are you finished? Are you finished? Because I'm going to ask you to leave. I'm going to ask you to leave if you don't want to listen. Okay, you've spoken. So, since I've taken office, do you remember walking up to me and handing me a packet where you, like a grade school teacher, wrote off on what you felt Vicky should have, whether or not we should have given her tenure based upon, right? Spelling mistakes. Do you remember that?
I did.
Right, okay. Coincides with a lot of the emails where they all targeted Vicky. It's no secret that you are a member of the Democratic Party and you wholeheartedly support the mayor. You've said that publicly, correct? Am I correct?
I support the mayor.
Great.
Yes.
Excellent. Eric Einholz did everything that is in these emails. And you know what? Let's let the Federal Bureau of Investigation handle it. They have it. I don't happen to think that Steve Ellis is as bulletproof as he is proclaimed to be. And that's where I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Not my intention to defend the mayor. It was my intention
to defend Eric Einholz?
To criticize the assumptions that were being made based on the documents. And I would just encourage everybody to read the documents.
I'm sure they have. I've posted them.
Well, I doubt that everybody has read.
Well, why would you doubt that?
I hope they will. I hope they will. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Folks, I intended to keep it brief this evening. However, the coordinated statement that was brought up, I'm going to just be blunt. You're all being taken for a ride. Every single one of you, right? Because the gentleman comes up here and says, well, I looked at it without prejudice or without bias. Take note of the emails that you did have, that I provided you with. There's an email in there, attachment F, Wednesday, September 27th, 2017 at 4:57 p.m. to Steve Ellis from Eric Einholz. Subject, election. Steve, I have 8 houses and I can put campaign signs in your window. Who can I contact to get 8 signs for the Democratic Council candidates? Now let me ask you, whose name was on those signs? It's there. So I'll hold the suspense because it was Mr. Brisson's name, who just came up here and said, I have no stake in this. I looked at it unbiased. There's nothing unbiased with this group. There's nothing unbiased. They go on Facebook. It's all smoke and mirrors. Oh, he's doing a great job. He's procured grants. He's got money. Out there, what's been done in 3 years?
Nothing.
What's been done? Oh, the money, he's got all these great things. You know what he's got? David Morissette by his side when he goes to court. That's what he's got. It's all a joke. All of it. And we're the punchline. We don't have to be the punchline, but we are. Councilman Lutz says it's quite baffling. He doesn't understand how someone can retaliate. Really? In 3 years, I've watched him retaliate against Blaine Feely. Make up stories about his kid being threatened. Melissa Pulse, a letter to her employer, because she over-requested something from Alpha, another borough. And he, as mayor of Phillipsburg, demanded she be reprimanded. The bridge contract that he almost didn't sign because Council Vice President and myself met with them. And he didn't like that. He wasn't there. How about the threatening messages that were sent to Matt Scarborough? Nobody has a comment on that. No one took the podium there. Amongst other threatening messages to members of the public that have been released time and time again. But I guess it never happened. And you know why it never happened? It never happened because that group said so. Because there's always an excuse. Because accountability does not exist in this administration. When we say that the mayor does not retaliate, it's a lie. A bold-faced lie. And I'm going to prove it with his own words. But before I do, let's talk about the landlord in question, who supported your ticket back in 2017, who you don't talk to, who you were here sticking up for. Mr. Reinholz created a social media post stating council does not want to rent to the public of Phillipsburg, or we want to take your homes away based upon the color of your skin. He said it. The post was out there. So I confronted him, and I thought it was interesting, some of his replies. I had requested he attend this meeting, and he has no desire to engage in conversation with filthy scum, either in or out of a council meeting. He then, and Vicki, I will give you these for the minutes to attach to Mr. Brisson's letter, for a gentleman he knows nothing about. I again invite him to this meeting. Ha ha, no. It's mostly your low-life supporters at that meeting. No thank you. This man has called the people of Phillipsburg inbred, lowlifes, scumbags. Why is he here? I think we've proven that with those emails. And I'm a gambling man, and I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. And if I'm wrong, I'll apologize to Steve Ellis in the middle of the Phillipsburg Easton game on the 50-yard line. That is how confident I am that I'm not wrong. Mayor Ellis retaliated against me because I shed light on a sex offender who was coaching our children. But that didn't happen, right? That didn't happen. He was just a father on the sidelines who just so happened to be a sex offender under lifetime supervision. And the interesting part is they want to talk about all this stuff. They want to get their point across, but once you hit them with a point, I don't want to talk about that. Outside the senior center, I tried to speak with them. Oh, but I don't really believe, I think you're making it up to be more than it is. No, the guy raped a child and was coaching kids, and I had proof, photographic proof, video proof. Then all of a sudden it was, well, I don't want to talk about that. Thought that was interesting. See if I can find the correct voicemail here. Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Because if I can,
I need to know what the hell.
Oh, that one was played already. Council President Tersigni played that one already. Okay, so let me set the tone for you. Our veterans hold a flag burning ceremony at Walters Park. Here, hold your face. I want you to listen to this one because I really want to know. I want to hear the spin on this one. This gentleman endorsed a Republican candidate. That candidate to the left of me, Councilwoman DiGirolamo. He obtained a special use permit and held his event. He called her the next councilwoman of Phillipsburg. Steve Ellis, on July 22nd, 2017 at 5:45 a.m.
Don, Steve Ellis, it's a simple one. It was reported to me that you introduced DiGirolamo as our next Phillipsburg councilwoman at Walters Park. I signed the special use permits, and that's a no-no. So, of course, the next time you get it for a permit, I'm going to be careful. All right? See you later, bye.
The next time you come up for a permit, because it's a no-no, I'm going to be careful. Be careful in what? His selection of who gets the permits and who doesn't? This council took a vote of no confidence in Mayor Ellis. A majority of the residents have already stated they have no confidence in Mayor Ellis. And tonight you heard that the employees of this administration, his administration, have no confidence in him. None. If the people somehow get this wrong on June 4th, and it's quite possible, I'll look forward to November. But trust me when I tell you, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than we see. There are secret meetings, there are groups, there are coordinated efforts. The only time they deflect is when they're wrong. Well, gentlemen, and you can take this back to your group, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to stay, at least for the next 2 years.